Hey everybody, good Thursday morning. Another edition of the First Alert. We've got some fun stuff to talk about and also some not fun stuff to talk about. We'll talk about the latest with Hurricane Milton, where it is, some of the damage that it caused in Florida, and some of the latest data coming out of Florida as Milton continues to move off to the east. The sun comes up and we get a better image of damage in things that Milton caused and destroyed across the area of Florida. So we'll be watching all of that closely and a lot to cover. So let's get right to it. We'll start with what's going on with Milton. Newest update as of 8 a.m. Thursday morning. Milton is still a hurricane. Winds are at 85 miles per hour. Pressure is at 980 millibars. It's still moving off to the east-northeast at about 18 miles per hour. Expecting it to continue on that path off to the east at about 18 to 20 miles an hour as we go through the next couple of days before it weakens eventually into a tropical depression. But here's the latest information and track on Hurricane Milton. 85 miles an hour, east-northeast at 18 miles an hour, and pressure at 980. And again, that is up to date as possible at the 8 a.m. update for those of us watching it back later. Of course, we'll have new information, so go to our WBTV First Alert weather app, and we'll have all of that information there as well. We're going to take this full and kind of show you where this is headed, according to the National Hurricane Center, making landfall near the Sarasota area, just to the south of Tampa Bay, and by just to the south, I mean by a mile or two, and that makes a huge difference when it comes to storm surge. So the surge kind of stayed out of the bay, a worst case scenario for Sarasota, down toward Inglewood and the Fort Myers area with storm surge. Winds were measured at about 120 miles an hour in the Tampa Bay area as Milton came onshore, and again, that was at 8 o'clock. Wednesday evening, and continue to move across Florida. Over 2 million people without power. A tornado outbreak before Milton even moved onshore, causing some deaths and a lot of destruction. As of word last night, about 125 homes were destroyed by those tornadoes, and of course that number going to continue to go up as we get a better look at damage. But this is going to move off to the east. Notice not much going on in the Carolinas. Things pretty quiet across Charlotte all the way down toward Charleston and Wilmington. We'll see some winds gusting 25 to 30 miles an hour, but really that's about it from impacts from Milton as it continues to move off to the east, northeast, and out into the Atlantic. So this will be something that is going to be moving on, but the damage is going to continue to be evaluated, and we're going to see a lot of crazy images coming out of Florida as Milton moved across that area. So looking ahead at our forecast, this is Saturday evening. Notice that little cluster of showers back up towards Chicago and Detroit. We're going to see a couple of cold fronts coming our way over the next couple of days, and that is going to continue to push Milton off to the east, but it is going to bring us some of the coldest weather we've had in 6 months or so. Again, not expecting any more impacts from Milton across the Carolinas other than some wind and maybe even a little bit of cloud cover across the east. So for today, the forecast for the Charlotte area, going to be 72 degrees, sunny, not quite as warm as yesterday. We hit 77 degrees. It will be a little bit breezy, and we did have those clouds to deal with yesterday evening. Made for a very nice sunset across the area, but the cloud cover will move on. Now I want to focus on low temperatures. Here's the trend over the last week. We had 60s all the way down to 61 on Sunday morning, but the last 2 days we've bottomed out in the 50s, 58 on Tuesday morning, 54 yesterday morning. We're going to be right in that ballpark for this morning. In the next week, we're really going to see those lows drop off. 46 for Friday and Saturday morning, so about 10 degrees cooler than this morning and yesterday morning. Not much in the way of winds. That'll help with the wind chill factor, especially up across the high country, where we'll probably see these numbers in the 30s and potentially close to freezing, especially as we go into next week. So first cold front moving through right now, helping push Milton off. We are going to see a second cold front come through Monday to Tuesday. That'll give us some small rain chances, but really going to adjust our temperatures down. We're talking about high temperatures in the 60s and overnight lows down into the low 40s and potentially near freezing up across the high country. Rain chances remaining low over the next several days. So let's talk about this. You might have seen this on the social media networks, but the severe geomagnetic storm watch issued by the Space Weather Prediction Center is going to be in effect through Friday. So coronal mass ejection happened and is going to push into the Earth's atmosphere as we go through the next 24 to 36 hours. Now, this could arrive as early as daylight hours on Thursday, but right now the forecast is for it to arrive after sunset Thursday into early Friday morning. And we'll likely see that peak as a K8 index, which, as we remember back in May, we had one of those coronal mass ejections produce those K8 and K9s values. Also, that severe geomagnetic storm watch was issued in May for that CME, and we're going to have another situation like that overnight tonight into tomorrow. So you could potentially see the northern lights in the Carolinas. Remember, this is all subject to change, and this is very hard to forecast because it does come from thousands of miles away. So we'll be watching that closely. Let's talk about how the auroras form. So we have the magnetic field around the globe, and then we're going to see the solar winds push those CMEs into the magnetic field of the Earth, and then they enter at the poles because that's where the magnetic field is the weakest, and those particles interact with the Earth's atmospheres, and depending on what level of the atmosphere it impacts, the colors will vary. So looking at the red auroras to interact with those particles above about 200 kilometers, and then all the way down to the pink below 100 kilometers into the Earth's atmospheres. And depending on what it interacts with, nitrogen, oxygen, again, nitrogen and oxygen, depending on just different levels, it produces different colors. So again, the auroras will be potentially viewable from the Carolinas if we see a situation set up like we had in May. And of course, subject to change, these are moving very far out at a fast distance and hard to calculate that exactly. So it could happen during daylight hours, but it also could happen overnight. And if it is as strong as what the Space Prediction Center is talking about, we could potentially see some of those auroras in the Carolinas. So we'll be watching that closely. Taking a look at that 7-day forecast, looking at 71 on Friday, 78 for Saturday, 82 on Sunday. And then look at next week, the bottom just dropping out. We'll see those temperatures down into the mid 40s and eventually low 40s for the middle of next week, with high temperatures only in the mid to upper 60s. So there you have the forecast, the latest on Milton and the latest on the potential to see those northern lights. Of course, we'll be posting updates throughout the day as that coronal mass ejection gets a little bit closer and the forecast becomes a little bit more clear. We'll be sharing that information. Thanks for joining me this morning, and stay tuned for updates throughout the day.